effectively, what we're trying to get to with Big Box is, if I bring up the PowerPoint slide, hang on, let me get back to it. Come on, Tone. There we go. What are the most traffic pathways? If we understand the most traffic pathways, we can then start to align our product offering to those pathways. If we understand how the products connect to each other, people who buy product X also purchase product Y from a different zone, then what do you put in the middle of those two as people travel between? So what are the dump-in opportunities? What are the impulse zone opportunities? What are the add-ons? What are the co-locations, the ribbon strips, all that kind of stuff? Engage the merchandise to increase the basket sizes and the product connections, as I just said, and store planners. Hopefully this is, the way this sort of suite of products work is because the detail level is richer. It's not just a retail ops focus. It does need to necessarily involve others. And that's something in fact, I took it from both of you. So we've got Officeworks and Total Tools in the room. It's something I took from both of you because if the journey is there, if the customer shops in a particular way, the hardest thing to do is to say, and you don't want to. I don't want you going from here to here. What I want to do is I want you to go from here to here if it involves a purchase. And if it involves a purchase, I want you to do it more. And if I can get you to do it more, then do I do that by hopefully not moving that closer, or do I get you to make that purchase more by moving a couple of things around or utilising those off spaces, the off-channel spaces, the dump-ins and so on and so forth. But I also wanted, we also wanted to do this in a way that allowed the dashboards to come together a little bit differently. So this is, like I said, this is live data. This is a 20-zone store. And what we've done is we've literally just replicated all the data that was on the dashboards themselves. We've just brought it to the surface in a different way. So the first thing that we've done through here is literally just talk through the data. Now, I've selected don't look at the UI. The UI is going to change pretty dramatically over the next couple of days. But we've got a period, so I'm looking at the current period, which is last week. I'm looking at, I choose my store, I choose my zone, whatever brand it is that I've got, away we go, and I've got a comparative period as well. So on the one dashboard, there are two things that I can see. I can see my key metrics, I can see my key sales drivers, and I can see the same key sales drivers for a different period of time. So I want to look at this one in general. So this is what has been called in this example the cosmetics department. And this is where, Shane, to the level that you were saying around we've got to use what we've got to a different level, and will it highlight, without the monetisation, will I see what I need to see? Am I already seeing what I need to see? So if we were to look at these ones, if we were to look at just a couple of the key pieces, right? So sales conversion in this zone, again, remembering live data, sales conversion in this zone has gone from a little bit under 39 to just over 40 and a half. Let's call that a win. For every hour of customer dwell time I had in that zone, before I was making 2.6 transactions, now I'm making just under 2.8. So my customers are being more effective. My ATV has gone from 17.5 to just under 19. These are all wins. My sales have fallen a little bit flat. My transactions have gone a little bit down. My traffic has gone a little bit down. So we would sit here and say that the issue with this department is that we're just not transacting enough. We're just not getting enough people through, and but everything else has gone particularly well. Everything else has gone swimmingly. You'd almost write this off as a week that, well, the traffic didn't go there. It might be seasonal. It might be something else. But by and large, the team did what they could with what they had. Is that a fair summary, if we were to read the dashboard in that traditional way? The question that I'll put to you is that this is still an area where the opportunity is there. And the way we work this out is, if I've got a certain amount of traffic going to a particular zone, so I've got 6.4% of all the traffic that visits my store visits this particular zone. 12.6%, let's call it 13, we'll call that 6.5, we'll call this 12.5. 12.5% of all the transactions that are made in the store actually come from that zone. Now, this is all stuff that we already know through your existing dashboards. If a gap exists, and if the gap exists on either of these tiers, then we have an opportunity. And the opportunity is that if I can draw more people into this zone, if I can just get its share of traffic up somewhat, then I have an opportunity, and the opportunity would be worth around about $600. $600, just a lazy 6% of my total sales, a little bit more, but let's call it 6% between friends. So I can increase the value of this zone by 6% just by dragging the right share of people into this zone. Ignore the location because it's been jumbled up and this is a randomised map. But that's the kind of stuff that Big Box is trying to get to. Just going to come back to your point around the monetisation stuff. The fact that this still is a fairly sizable opportunity in the context of this store, is that still something you think I'm not necessarily...
No, there's something there.
Yeah.
There's something there. The issue, I guess, for us is, and we've done some of this already, we've got departments that are overrepresented in space that don't deliver, and vice versa. And certainly there's some area for tweaking. My biggest thing with this is just to get to this point. So for us to have an area like that, and then make sure that the sales are reflected in that hour from that area.
Yes.
That's the big stuff that would be a change for us.
Yes.
So we're dumping to you a sales per hour probably at the moment. A total sales. And then we've got, I think it's 14 broader, 89, and then 150 different categories. So they would need to be split up to reflect that captured zone, which is not always an exact science.
No. And it's... Well, it needs to be, I guess, to a home site level. So, because there's always going to be, and for both of you, there's always going to be a spillover. And in most big box there will be, right? Because you will have printers in the middle of a walkway, but printers are over there, and that's in between office supplies and furniture, for argument's sake. You will have exactly the same thing. You'll have power drills in the middle of paint equipment and tools.
And again, I guess we're worrying about the little 1%ers, but broader stuff is the stuff we're trying to capture.
It's about trying to make sure that if it is power drills in that zone, that it should be power drills in that zone.
Yeah. My biggest fear, and it's a small room, so I can... is just, I already have 8 months of data of 4 stores of how everyone's moving in every one of those stores.
Yeah.
And I know very little about it.
Yes.
And I haven't had time to do it. We did the one report.
Yeah.
But we're not looking monthly to see where people are visiting and where they're going to and how they're tracking.
Yeah, right.
So it's almost, this is the end game.
Yeah.
But we're at the start of the journey and we haven't, nearly a year in, and we haven't really looked.
Yeah, but I think this dashboard would be more usable and would get us to solutions quicker than
Rather than what
I think this one's easier to look at and go, here's exactly the information on the one store, and I can dig through it and can't find it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be easier to show this to people to say, here's the info to do something with.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess from our point of view, we tried it the first way and that, I just don't think that's worked. So this might be...
No.
the way to do it.
Yeah. And to be honest, this was born out of, because I came away from that session thinking there's stuff here, but just, I've given him nothing. I walked away feeling...
I think that's because I said to you, you give me nothing.
Yeah, probably. Probably. That's fair point. It might have been. But there was literally, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff in there for us to be able to go.
There wasn't, was there? Because
No.
one came in and turned left, one came in and turned right, one went from here to there, and it was almost
Correct.
like, my CEO saying, what'd you get out of it? I'm like, people are moving around the store,
Yeah.
that's probably it.
Yeah.
And there are busier spots than others. Whereas here I can at least support the fact that, and I guess we get this data to a degree, it's just not going to be broken down by
Well, you
hour.
have to take a SKU fee with our allocated category per SKU.
Yep.
Which is a lot of data. And would that have to be, because we have a different data set for every store, it would have to be store specific.
It's fine. We can do it.
I don't think it. I think you just let the outliers lay out. I think you would just be saying these products sit in this category, and there's your broad category for it. If something's outside of that, then it's just outside of it.
That's what's happening here, right? So I know this store, the one we're looking at.
Cosmetics somewhere.
There are, right, and there's a smattering of them at the impulse zone, right, the registers, and so there's enough of them. Probably 1 or 2% of that gap. Let's call it $100 out of the 600. That is already being activated or being inflated because they're picking it up at the impulse zone. But that says to you 2 things. One, it says I've still got an opportunity. Two, it says keep in the bloody impulse zone because it works, because people like it. All right, cool. The next thing I want to show you is around the day of week view. Now, again, this is live data. So I'm going to pick a proper week. In fact, I'm going to pick just last week. It's a full week. And what zone did I say I wanted to pick? I wanted to pick garden furniture. It's an inch. Oh, there we go. It's already picked garden furniture for me. Happy days. So I want to pick Monday as an example. So I'm going to blow this chart out for a sec. So what we can see here is that I've got 15% of all the traffic that visits my garden zone visits it on a Monday. 8.2 or 8% of my transactions happen on a Monday. 5% of my sales dollars, 10% of my units, and my sales conversions 8%. The rest of the week, I'm running somewhere between 13 and 21. Let's draw a straight line and let's say it's 15-ish, 16-ish. Monday, my sales conversion is 8%, and it actually happens to be my second busiest day of the week in that zone. The opportunity that we have here is most of our big box clients, you guys in particular, have a skilled workforce. You have a flexible workforce. You have a deployable workforce to a degree, give or take. Is this something where you can sit there and say, clearly we've got an issue on Monday, right? Clearly we're letting literally half of our sales. We could double our sales in this zone on a Monday, and we could do that 52 Mondays of the year, and that's not an issue. And the reason I know we could do it 52 Mondays of the year is because I can pick all the weeks and work out that that's not a fluke.
I was about to say you couldn't just act on the previous week. You'd have to look at 12 months data.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're up and down like a yo-yo.
Correct. So you can use it on a week-by-week basis as a coaching log, or you could give that to your, if you wanted to give that to your store manager. I probably wouldn't, but everyone's different. But you can see that, you know what, on average, I'm giving away 50% of my sales, but sometimes it's really quite nasty. I can up to double my garden care sales just on a Monday. To me, this is an actionable insight. I haven't monetised this one. I don't know whether I need to, because to me this sticks out like the proverbials. Yep.
I'm trying to work out whether Dominion.
That one tells me straight away that, from my view, it's you're still getting the customers, but you don't have any stock on the shelf
Yeah.
because your whole weekend you've run skeleton staff,
Yeah.
couple reclaimed,
Yep.
and it straight away shows you why don't we try doing this, shove that into 3-4 stores, see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yep.
And then for the rest of them as well.
Yep. And if it works in those 3-4,
Roll it out.
roll it out.
Yeah.
Does the addition of units give us any other insights?
Exactly what, James, sorry mate, I've met 300 people today, and the one thing that Luke has known me for 10 years. I don't remember my own name at the best of times, mate. I'm grateful for this. Isn't it? I've called you a lot worse than that. Units covers replenishment. Units covers, did I activate, or what I was trying to get to is that either it's ATV, in which case I'm either selling the wrong items. I'd see units up here and value down here because I'm focusing on promo, or vice versa because we're upselling, or I'm not doing either, in which case I just don't have anything to sell, or I don't have the skill to sell it, depending on who I am. If this was your power tool section, if this was your IT section, you'd sit there and go, I've run out of the skill. If this was your volume drives, if this was your office supplies, you'd look at this and go, no, it's replanned. And that's probably a fairly safe
So,
assumption.
sorry, the units, that's not showing me how many units were sold.
Yes,
Percentage of units.
10% of the units for the week, or for that period, yeah, yeah, of the Monday.
Under
Yeah.
10% of his unit sales came out of
Yeah.
garden.
But there's almost a direct correlation to transactions there.
Correct.
So I'm just wondering whether, again, I'm on this big less is more thing at the moment, because I've got store managers wanting to quit because there's 9 things we're getting them to try and
Yeah.
recover.
Yeah.
And they've got 12 deep at the counter and not enough staff. So I'm just, for me,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to
Yep.
say, is there enough? I mean, outside of Monday, every other one is within, 0.1% or 0.2%.
Yep.
Again, the less is more. So again, I only speak for our business. I'm
Yep.
not sure whether or not Officeworks needs the other stuff, but I'm just saying that would be consideration.
Yep. So I wonder whether, and I haven't tested this, but I wonder whether in some of the other departments,
Whether it's more
Yeah, whether there's a more dramatic shift.
Because
And
and
we'll-
compare, $1 per pen that we
Yep.
sell, it could be 1,000,000 units for not many sales compared to
Yep.
that.
Yep. So there's again on a Monday different department, but I've got 11.5% of my transactions, but 14% of my units, and 11.5% of my dollars. So I'm selling the cheap stuff. Yep. I mean, that could, in theory, be ATV. You could add ATV. You could make these metrics selectable to have it display what you want. But I'm trying to. The other option, if you make them selectable, then people click, and stop looking. I'm sort of this opinion that if we find that right mix, then you've just got one view, and you sit there and go, "This is what it is, week in, week out." To try and simplify. I mean, you guys have got 1,000 things on your plate. This is the vista that I'm trying to create on that one. I'll show you one more. Same principle, but this is by hour of day and by day of week. And again, who did I want to pick on here? I want to do... Oh, clever me. I didn't write the bloody category down. So I'm going to pick all the weeks again. I'm going to pick all 4 weeks. I'm going to pick... let's stick with garden furniture. In fact, let's stick with garden furniture. This is Mondays. To your point around restocks. So my traffic is actually quite solid all through Monday. It's actually consistent every hour of the day. But at some point, I mean, my sales and my transactions are never good apart from 2 p.m. So I'm guessing replen started to happen around 12:45 because you can start to see that transactions go up. You can start to see that sales and units go up, but it probably finishes, it goes from 12:45 till probably 1:45 because you can see that all of a sudden I'm able to push units out, but very quickly it runs out of stock. I can see that the whole day is generally not great, but there is an activity that kicks in there. Let me go to cosmetics. I think I had a cosmetics example, which was quite good. So cosmetics again, traffic quite consistent, except I've got transactions, sales and units flying consistently through right up until we get to 3 p.m. when everything starts to fall, but that's okay, traffic fell, I've still got this capacity. What this will tell you is that the whole day of Monday, if I was to actually drive some traffic through on a Monday, then I could probably get truckload more sales throughout the entire period, but my biggest opportunity is at 10 a.m. where I've got reasonable amount of traffic and ridiculously bad sales conversion compared to the rest of the day. Is this too granular? Is this store manager level? Too much?
No, this would be more.
It's going to take me
workforce
15
planning
minutes.
and things rather than.
Yeah, your workforce
It takes me
planners.
15 minutes to work out. So, and I like data, so
Yeah.
no, this would be regional manager or up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm
By
gonna.
the way, that format there,
Yep.
even with just 4 windows,
Yep.
and the blow up like that, is what I've had before. That's your standard dashboard.
Getting there.
And then you change your dashboard language to reports, and then people go down and grab whatever.
Yeah.
they've got.
Yeah.
And inside means they've stopped in front of that category for
30 seconds or more. So it's not an accidental. Yeah. It is totally not an accidental. All right. The next piece I want to show you.
And Tony, just
Yeah.
for my clarity, obviously this comes down, and we don't have many issues, but we have ongoing issues with
Yep.
an area that changes or something changes in the area.
Yep.
This has 30 of those in the store. Are we confident that we'll be able to put our guidelines in and that's where they'll stay?
Yep.
We
Yeah.
are?
Yeah. What I would suggest when we rolled out your stores, I think because these guys have got it really well and they've cabled to light fixtures, and so everything's beautifully defined, crystal clear, never an issue. I think with yours, probably some of the issues that we face is because we thought it was 3 months or 6 months or whatever. The way it's been set up is probably a little more
I'm just
vulnerable.
talking about the single one, the main one for entry and exit.
Oh,
We've
right.
had some inconsistencies with those, and I know
Yep.
that we still do have some of those. So it's
Yep.
more just the device itself. You know, like any
Yep.
device isn't
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
Something
Yeah.
happens and it changes.
Yep.
So when you know, we're going to have potentially 30 devices by 120
Yep.
stores, a lot of devices, and a percentage of those are going to be wrong.
A percentage will be, yeah, there's always going to be an issue there. I'm pretty comfortable with the way, I've got to be not cautious, but I don't want to overcommit the dev team. So the guy that's actually building this actually works for, he splits his time 50-50 between me and the engineering team. And so because of those issues, he's actually got a whole new structure around the data stability and the system stability as well, which if you've got one sensor that goes out, that's one thing. If you've got 30 sensors that go out, or you've got 3 out of 30 that go out, and you're trying to map journeys and you're trying to be consistent, it has not a greater impact, but it impacts on a product in a very, very different way. So yes, there's a lot of work going on that front as well, and he actually has a major release next week after, for exactly that purpose.
Because I think, you know, overarchingly, device stability is the whole thing, because
Yep.
once, you know, and I've done this twice in my life now with different brands, when you start getting issues and a device goes off, you know, as they do,
Yep.
you start to lose trust, and once you start to lose trust, people start to dismiss the numbers.
Yep.
And once you dismiss, you're lost. The system just folds in.
Yeah, there's one other, and that's a really valid point. There's one other scenario that we got. So we got one client, not a traditional sort of retail format, but again, big box, really traffic intensive, lots of peaks and waves, and they run, because of their traffic intensity, they run cleaners through 3-4 times a day. Cleaners, I love them to bits, but the first thing they do is they look for a PowerPoint because they've got a.
Unplug the device, and there you go.
So what we built for them, how am I doing? 5 minutes left? Cool. What we did for them was we built a heartbeat monitor. So it's got their store layout and it just blinks up and it says this sensor in this location is now red. It's offline. Please go and plug it back in. Because that's the majority of our data issues. And I don't mean this to be, hey, it's not our fault, it's yours, because it is what it is. But the majority is it's either disconnected or it's gone offline for some reason. And usually the key issue to that is if we can just reset it, that fires it back up. Yeah, cool.
2 rounds.
Two rounds of 5 minutes. I count that as 10 minutes.
They're in a conga line out there.
My reputation precedes me. Love a good chat. Yeah. So yes, so there's that as well. Journeys, sequence journeys. So one of the things we worked on for both of you was zone of first visitation. So where did people turn up first? What is the reason for me being in the store? And then where did I go next? And I can drill these down. So I can literally pick up any zone and it will tell me from any zone where did I go, in what quantity, and so on and so forth. I can then see what my top 10 journeys are, what my top 10 first zones are, how do these link in, where are my product connections. If I go into 5 zones, my ATV is $81, but bugger all people do it. If I go into 2 zones, I've got 6.5% of people doing that, and I've got an ATV of $36, and I've got 23% of baskets containing 2 zones, and that's the kind of scenario that we're trying to get to there.
Which we can almost get to with the data we've already got.
Correct. Correct.
But we don't have a format like that.
Correct. So this would get appended to this structure with the heartbeat monitor that says sensors are either on or off, right? Next here, I'm intrigued on your feedback on this, and I'm going to come back here. Now, this is your full store. So I've picked a zone, right? I've picked zone 02 as my example. 6% of my traffic goes there as its first destination. 51% of all my traffic visits that zone. $31, anyone who purchases in this zone will spend $31 in my store on average. From here, 826 people will also visit zone 20 over that period. It is in my top 5 journeys. In fact, 35.6% of all people who visit here will also go across, and so on and so on and so on. The ATV of people who visit both zones is $21. So they'll spend $31 if they're here, but this zone actually, they're looking for a bargain here and they're looking for a bargain in wherever zone 20 is. And so it's a 30% variance to my ATV. That's not a great journey for me to focus on. Here I've got a journey from zone 2 to zone 6, 727 times. It happens an awful lot. $40. It actually pushes the ATV up. In fact, it goes up 30%. Let me have a look. So that journey happened 727 times. There were 8 baskets that contained both. 719 of those journeys were wasted. This is different level type stuff. This is different process. This is different infrastructure. I can pick any zone. I'll go to zone 6. Zone 6 is a big one. I can go from zone 6 to zone 18. Happens 746 times. Precisely 0 transactions. I can go from zone 6 to zone 2. It happens 727 times. Oh, that's the reverse of the other one. And you can see 610 times for 8, and so on, and so on, and so on. Really valuable journey, but bugger all people are doing it. And then you've got product connections, then you've got the top 10 products and so on, and it just keeps getting deeper. Now, 2 questions on this one. It's ready, it's available. There's a couple of people who've taken it up. I think you've actually already got access to it, to a degree.
I think so.
Yes.
I don't think I've used it.
Yeah.
It's in there.
Too much? Do you? Well, that's actually part of my question, right? You haven't used it.
Not yet, no. I think the bottom half of this one
Yep.
is super useful, and the top half of the first. I really like that sort of safety chart.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
I think that's really good to then show other people in the business this is how it's happening.
Yeah.
But I really like the way that when they're buying between these two, here's what the products are buying. So how do we then put in the first spot to drive that extra conversion for it?
I'm not sure we're ready for this yet.
I don't mind. My overarching issue is just going to be
What do we do?
cost of multiple centres. So we can't be paying standard centre prices that the store has 1 when we're going to have 30. It just makes it. My quick equation is it's going to cost me 1.2 million a year in devices. So it's a long discussion. It's a very short.
You just made Andy twitch, mate.
It's
Yeah.
it's $1,000 bucks.
No, correct.
$1,000 bucks for each store.
Yep.
Rounding up.
Yep.
It's $100,000 a
Yep.
month.
Yep.
Plus. So we'd be out. Like it just, you know what I mean? It
Yep.
would need to be 20% of that max for us to get insights. Otherwise, we're picking stores and almost self-selecting what answers we're going to get.
Yeah, right.
So that's a bigger issue for us.
Yeah, got you.
Unless you find a sensor that can do multiple areas, I just don't think it's going to be worthwhile.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just
Are you-
speaking frankly. Like,
Yeah.
And then you're going to have the same problem with a lot of
Yep.
companies.
Do you mind if I share your clustering strategy?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. So these guys have set up 14 stores to represent their entire store network. So each of those 14 represent a certain layout or content or fixture. So as much as I'd love to roll out into every one of their stores, I don't know that I'm going to get, I might get between 14 and 30. I won't get between 14 and 300. Yeah?
Right, well, we'll look at it.
Cool. All right.
I'm the
done.
bouncer.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Last
Thank you.
Four people.
Hey?
It's 4 people.